For this video, we're going to be discussing solving systems of equation by elimination with multiplication. So, we discussed in a previous video how to use elimination to solve a system of equations. However, that required our equations to have at least one variable that had the same coefficient in both equations. However, for many systems, neither one of the variables will have the same coefficient in both equations. And in that case, we have to multiply either one or both of the equations by a number to make the coefficients the same. So let's say, for example, I gave you 2x plus y equals 8. And then I also told you 5x plus 3y equals, 13. You'll notice we can't use elimination yet because my x has coefficients of 5 and 2, my y has coefficients of 1 and 3. So we have a problem here. We can't really add or subtract. If I add or subtract, I'm not going to get rid of either of my variables. However, what if I multiply my top equation here by 3? I'm allowed to do this as long as I multiply everything in the equation by 3. I'll still get the same answer. 3 times 2 is 6x. 3 times y is 3y. And 8 times 3, well, that's 24. Bottom one I'm leaving alone. I have 5x plus 3y equals 13. Well, now we see I have the same coefficient here. Now I can subtract these and I get, well, 6 minus 5 is x, 3 minus 3 is 0, 24 minus 13 is 11. I get x equals 11. So you can see what we did here is we simply multiplied one of our equations by a number to make the coefficients the same. So that's what it means by elimination with multiplication. So here's our procedure. First, we need to multiply one or both of the equations by a number to make one of the coefficients equal. And then the rest of the procedure is simply what we did for elimination. Decide whether we're going to add or subtract, do my adding and subtracting, solve for the remaining variable, substitute, and check. So we're going to start by multiplying and then just do the procedure for elimination. So let's try one problem. It says solve this system by elimination. So if I look here, I have x plus 3y equals 6, and 2x plus 4y equals 10. I can't just straight up add or subtract them because none of my coefficients are the same. So I got to think, how can I do some multiplying to make the coefficients the same? Well, 3 and 4 isn't a multiple of 3, so if I tried to make y the same, I'd have to multiply both equations by something. But to go from x to 2x, all I have to do is take this top equation and multiply it by 2. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, I'm going to say, take this top equation, multiply everything by 2. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 3y is 6y, and 2 times 6 is 12. So now, I'm going to bring this equation down because I didn't do anything to it. Now I have 2x plus 6y equals 12, and 2x plus 4y equals 10. I have the same coefficient here. So they're the same sign, so I'm going to subtract. 2x minus 2x is 0. They cancel out. 6y minus 4y is 2y. 12 minus 10 is 2. So 2y equals 2. So y equals 1. So all I did for my elimination was multiply one of my equations by a number so that I had the same coefficient. And it's totally fine for us to do this as long as we multiply everything in that top equation. All right, well now I know y equals 1. I'm going to go back to one of my original equations, not the one I did not the one where I've done the multiplying, one of the originals. I'm going to plug in my y equals 1. So I'm going to take my first equation here, x plus 3y equals 6. So x plus 3 times 1 equals 6. That's x plus 3 equals 6. So I get x equals 3. So now I know x is 3, y is 1. I'm going to check my work by plugging that into my second equation. 2x plus 4y equals 10. That's 2 times 3 plus 4 times 1 equals 10. That's 6 plus 4. 10 is 10. So I know it works for both equations, so my answer is the ordered pair 3, 1. So the only thing I added to my steps for elimination is that I had to multiply this top equation by 2 so that my x coefficients would be the same. All right, let's try another example. Example 2 says solve this system by elimination. Now if we look here, we're going to need to do some multiplying. 3 and 7, 5 and 2. Well, there's nothing really pretty about this. 7 isn't a multiple of 3, 2 isn't a multiple of 5. It's not going to be really easy for me to do this. I'm in fact going to have to multiply both of my equations by a number. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to change my y coefficient to 10. The way I'm going to do that, I'm going to multiply the top by 2. I'm going to multiply the bottom by 5. All right? So I'm going to multiply the top by 2, the bottom by 5. Because 2 times 5 will make this a 10y, and 5 times 2 will make this a negative 10y, and then I can just add them together. All right? So the way that I'm going to do this is basically, if I have to multiply both of the systems by numbers, I'm going to take this coefficient, multiply it by that equation, take this coefficient, multiply it by the bottom equation. I could do the same thing with 7 and 3, but for this one, because I already have a plus and a minus, it's going to be easy for me to just add them together. So I'm just going to get rid of y on this one. So here's what I'm going to do. Multiply the top by 2, bottom by 5. If I multiply the top by 2, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 5 is 10, and 2 times 46 is 92. All right, on the bottom I multiply by 7. 5 times 7 is 35. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. And 5 times 39 is 195. Okay, because my signs are different, I'm going to add 6 plus 35 is 41x. 10y minus 10y is 0. And 92 plus 195 is 287. If I divide both sides by 41, I get x equals 7. So I'm going to take this x equals 7 and plug it back into one of my original equations. 3x plus 5y is 46. I'm going to plug in 7 for x. So 3 times 7 plus 5y equals 46. 3 times 7 is 21. I get 5y equals 25, so y equals 5. Now to test it out, make sure it works, plug it into my second equation. If I plug it in my second equation, 7 minus 2y equals 39, or 7x minus 2y equals 39. My x is 7, so 7 times 7. My y is 5, so 2 times 5. Gives me 49 minus 10, which is 39. It works for both of my equations, so I know my answer is simply 7, 5. So in a case where you have to multiply both equations, you simply take the coefficient of the top, multiply it by the bottom, take the coefficient of the bottom, multiply it by the top. So here is your try it problem for tonight. You need to solve this equation by elimination. You're going to have to do some multiplying.